Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Dolittle. Dolittle is the latest film adaptation of the fabled stories of a doctor who can speak to animals. This time around, Robert Downey Jr. leads an all-star voice cast of creatures on an adventure to find a hidden island that contains the fruit that can save the Queen's life. I wasn't sure why we needed a Dr. Dolittle reboot, remake, whatever the case. And it really just kind of reverted back to, wow, Hollywood. We're just recycling. Pretty evident with these January properties you've chosen to remake. But I did think the first trailer actually was okay. It was a little bit better than I anticipated. It had more heart, it had more magic. So I was more hopeful than I was upon initial knowledge of the film. However, that second trailer wiped out any excitement. I thought it was terrible. I was like, oh my, this is much more in line with what I was anticipating. And in the end, I have to say, Dolittle, it's not very good, but it's certainly not straight up terrible. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, the film overall has a very nice, light, bouncy, light-hearted tone to it, and I appreciated that. In many ways, the tone, the subject matter, the look of the film all have the feeling and the essence of a more old school, traditional live action family film. A genre that has become increasingly more rare in the wake of the comic book boost, if you will. And the heart is in the right place. I think the heart of the film and the messages behind the film are very nice. Of course, the messages with animals and understanding them and caring for them is wonderful. And the designs of the animals was solid. The CGI itself was also good. It ranged where sometimes it looked amazing, other times a little bit more shaky, but across the board, I do think that the animals looked good. And in most cases, they felt real. They felt like they were in the scene and a part of the world. They do sneak in some funny jokes here as well, which thankfully. There are some fun little set pieces, some fun little moments in the movie. And while I wasn't completely sold on Robert Downey Jr.'s accent in the movie, I wasn't quite sure what that accent was trying to be. I did think his performance was good, and really, most of our human performances, at least, were solid. And this isn't really a positive or a negative, but this movie definitely skews very young. It is aimed at small children, feels like a younger children's movie. So just know that. They sneak in a couple of adult jokes that will go right over their head, but overall, this is definitely catered to a young audience, and I think young kids will have fun with it, find it funny, and have a good time. But I'm going to let that statement lead us into our negatives with Dolittle. Well, as part of the youngness of it, we get a lot of just potty humor, a lot of really just eye-rolling jokes in this film. And so I was quite shocked and had to mention it in my positives that I laughed or chuckled at all in the film because so many of these jokes are just like, oh, alrighty then. I also found the voice casting to be a little bit of a distraction. So I think everybody on the voice cast seemed fun, but a lot of them just they didn't match up to their animal for me. I was a little bit thrown off constantly throughout the movie because these voices were quite strange. And then we get over to the script and it is just all over the place. First of all, I mean, this is exposition central, and for a family film, why is so much of this movie filled with just big exposition dumps? Emma Thompson narrates the story, and a lot of her narration is just exposition. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, get on with it already. We don't need all of this talking. And I noticed that as a trend with Emma Thompson in films. She tends to be kind of an exposition mouthpiece. The story itself is also just so convoluted. It makes you miss the much more contained story of that first Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle film. Because we're just going on this big, grand adventure, and we get the mythical sides to the books and the nonsensicalness of it all that takes us so far out of the real world when this is supposed to be set on our actual world, in our actual dimension, if you will. And it was too much. The plot got too convoluted. The adventure had us stopping on all of these things. It was very standard in how it unfolded across the board. But all of this adventure was just unwarranted and started to really, really drag. Sheen is in here as well, and oh my gosh, I guess he was having fun. But first of all, this character was just a straight up cartoon. Like, more so than any of these voices that were doing the animals or supposed to be a little bit more over the top. Sheen was a cartoon, and I just constantly was like, oh gosh, this character is so cringe. What are we doing? Overall, Dolittle is fine if you have kids under the age of 10. I think they'll find things that are funny in here. They'll like the fun, cute little animal moments. And it'll make for an innocuous enough time for you to sit through as well. But be warned, we definitely start to stretch as this adventure goes on and on and on. So they might get a little bit antsy through the middle portions of this film. But if you're a family with kids in that under 10 age, I think this makes for an okay matinee. It's fun, like theater fodder, if you will. However, I mean, if you're an animal lover, if you really like the Dr. Dolittle stories, give this a rental. You definitely don't need to see it in the movie theater. They spent way too much money on this film that it will never get back. They spent way too much money on this film on nonsense they didn't need to dump money into, but alas, here we are. The quality just doesn't warrant the theatrical experience, but if you rent it or see it for free on TV, it's an okay watch. So, that is my review of Dolittle. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Dolittle? And what are your thoughts on the previous Dolittle film adaptations? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!